Well, if you followed the debate and the vote on Florida's big gambling expansion, you may have some questions about some stuff that doesn't seem to add up on the surface until you connect the dots. For example, why did the Senate vote to not include key points of their debate in the official Senate record?
Why in the world would we hide from the public? Would we prevent from being published in the journal what we do here on this floor?
Well, they expect to be sued. And by voting to not include key discussions that relate to their intent into the official Senate record, it makes it harder to admit that evidence in court, because they know they just approved a gambling expansion that may not be entirely legal.
We're going to be in court. We're going to lose.
And why specifically do they think they're going to lose? Well, by law, you cannot expand gambling in Florida without voter approval, unless it's on sovereign Native American land. But they approve sports betting on mobile devices anywhere in Florida. And they did it on the claim that no matter where you place a bet in Florida, you're placing it on Native American sovereign land, because the bet will transmit to a server at a Seminole casino. Here's what gambling opponents said about that.
I don't know of a single federal court outcome that would back that up.
And here's what the lawmaker who was the driving force in getting this passed said about that.
Me personally, I don't think it's going to survive.
Representative Randy Fine is a former casino executive and the state house's resident expert on gambling.
If I'm making a sports bet in my bathtub at home, but I know, if I'm doing that it is a bet on the tribal lands. And I think there's a legitimate argument. I think there's a good chance that the courts go, no. Common sense prevails.
Remember, in regular session, the legislature ordered sales tax on all purchases from online stores out of state, on the premise that the transaction takes place where the person places the order in Florida, not some out-of-state server.
But if I stand here in Tallahassee and I place a bet, now the argument is, no. The bet's being made in some servers on tribal land 469 miles away from Tallahassee. That is not intellectually honest. It is not consistent. It is hypocritical.
So state lawmakers know they could lose in state court on grounds that it violates Amendment 3, which gives voters the final say on expanding gambling.
So when I hear that this does not trigger Amendment 3, it's laughable. It's exactly right. It's laughable.
And they know they could also lose in federal court on grounds that their actions violate the Federal Wire Act, which states an electronic transaction does occur in two places: where it's placed and where it's received. And on top of all that legal jeopardy, some of them think if we're gonna do sports betting, that we should not have given the Seminole tribe a monopoly that shuts out the commercial players that are thriving in other states.
It doesn't conform with our Republican values that we are for free markets and open competition in the state of Florida, because that's not what this bill does. That's not what this compact does.
And on top of that, others say the governor shortchanged the state and got rolled by the tribe in the negotiations by giving way more than he got.
I wish we would have had someone else making the deal so that we could have gotten more.
Shows that one side is very good at negotiating and the other has never made a payroll or signed the front of a paycheck.
So why then would both chambers overwhelmingly approve of the gambling pact after expressing such concerns? Well, it could make a little more sense when you consider the possibility that some may want to lose in court, or at least be okay with it, because a loss in court would only nix the part where the critics think the governor got rolled.
And it's not enough money compared to what other states are getting just on sportsbook.
The governor's critics claim he specifically gave much more than he got as it relates to shared proceeds from the mobile sports betting, not so much the rest of the deal. And it's the mobile sports betting monopoly that bothers the free market Republicans. And it's the mobile sports betting part that drives concerns about data harvesting. And it's the mobile sports betting part that's in the crosshairs of the looming state and federal legal challenges. And once again, here's the House's resident expert on gambling on what would happen if the court invalidates mobile sports betting.
If the sports betting goes away, the compact still goes forward. We still get every dollar that we're entitled to based on those revenue sharing rates for the enormous business that they're operating today. The only difference is we lower the minimum payment a little bit, but we don't change the percentages.
Yeah, if the court strikes the sports betting part, the state would shed the most controversial part of the pact. The tribe would still get to add 3 new casinos and add craps and roulette, and still have to pay the state most of the money under the terms of the pact.
The Seminoles get to keep doing what they're already doing, with a small change, craps and roulette, and they start paying us $1.5 million a day. $500 million a year.
Fine said in casino gambling, the house always wins. But he said on this one, the house he now serves in will also win, even if it loses. And some might say, especially if it loses in court. As usual, it all comes down to money, power, and politics.